Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm Harry Langen, and this is Nelson Nightline. For the next 50 minutes or so, we're going to explore a word, a mysterious and very powerful word, a word that you each have had some experience with: love. Some of our most fascinating and dramatic stories of history have been inspired by someone loving someone. Classical poets and songwriters have enhanced our lives with their beautiful and thoughtful expressions. The tragedy of Romeo and Juliet, the beauty of Daphne in the eyes of Apollo. And wars, even wars, have been fought in the name of love. Recall the great wooden horse and Helen of Troy, herself evidently the reason for that bloody conflict costing so many young men their lives and their limbs. History is full of tremendous stories where love was a principal player, the centerpiece, as it were, of the revolutions which redirected the course of civilizations. Witness Cleopatra. Who can say precisely what influence she brought to bear on her lover Julius Caesar and his politics? Without doubt, Egypt was served well by the great lover as she allied with Rome, likely preventing an invasion of her homeland. Eleanor of Aquitaine, the second wife of Henry II, brought very particular views to bear upon her powerful concubine, and then contributed to our fund of literature concerning romantic love. More recently, the names Mata Hari and Christine Keeler may evoke images of sly women using their lovingness to impact on the political course of history. And in our history of literature, what was the very first name mentioned in connection with love? Thousands of years ago, stories were passed on by word of mouth, no writing, until finally, about 6,000 years ago, the Vedic scriptures came into being, and the name Krishna, the god of love. Love itself, according to the scriptures, was described as being not only beautiful, of radiant blue skin and large mischievous eyes, but also so capable of expressing his delight with women that his female attendants, the gopis, each thought that Krishna loved just her. They all thought this simultaneously. Such was Krishna's power to express lovingness. He was, by the way, according to these ancient scriptures, genderless. He described love as a philosophy for living successfully, loving our fellow man, abiding in the knowing and loving of God. The Bible of the Hindu faith, the Bhagavad Gita, features Krishna, the god of love, in his chariot on the battlefields of Kurukshetra, advising his companion Arjunadas to do his duty and proceed into war, because all souls are not lost, simply reborn, until they gain freedom, loving God. Love and war, love and war. A most unfortunately common, though peculiar, mixing of concepts. To kill for love? It's happened before. Terrible contradictions here. Delilah betraying Samson, Judas betraying Jesus, Brutus most foul. And what about Jesus? Didn't he say something about the kingdom of heaven being at hand, and doesn't love have something to do with that? Perhaps. But this word, full of secrets, has a bloody history, confounding great thinkers and seers of all eras. Hollywood movie makers have given us a variety of their versions, relentlessly, half-naked bouncing bulges on a hot beach, layers of gross makeup, all combining to have something very fundamental to do with love, acceptance by one's peer group. Playing macho beach ball. Advertisers have been using the love concept to exhaustion, and most often very tastelessly, to enchant us to buy into their philosophy, one which enriches them and makes us more anxious. And lust? Just another confusing signpost on the road to understanding love. And loving one's mother is different than loving one's dog or boat. And some people have preferences. There are many images this one word evokes. Powerful thoughts and ideas come to mind. Interesting questions, too. Can love be considered a force in the community, finally compelling us to play out our existence on a spiritual field of absolutes, death being counted as one? Can love establish for civilization a climate of comfort and terrific joy? Can we know that heaven on earth, by allowing the substance of love to go about its perfect work? Many images arise presenting themselves for the amusement of our inquiring minds. Like a multifaceted, perfect diamond, each reflection a separate allure, a diamond worn by a beautiful chameleon, an enchantress, impossible to control. Perhaps because this one word alone has the power to demystify the past, demystify the future. Maybe it is the one word which makes sense of all life, imbuing it with meaning and purpose. Maybe. Well, there's enough violence, inhumanity, or anti-love on television, enough to satisfy the worst gluttons for deathliness. So I invite you to spend this next little while examining some lovely reflections. Let's lift our minds that we might penetrate and join this dimension whereabouts real peace reigns. Are you game? Come on, lovers all. And to help us in our explorations tonight, to help navigate through this word, we have in our studio 3 guest speakers: Dr. Magee of Nelson, Nelson's only psychiatrist; Counselor Christopher Moon, a man of very particular ideas about humanity; and writer Heather Fischer, to contribute the feminine perspective to our discourse. But first, let's find out what the ordinary Nelsonite feels about this word. Phil Harrison has been on the streets and the byways of Nelson, hopefully not in the alleyways, putting the question to your neighbors. Perhaps to you. Phil, over to you.
Excuse me, I wonder if we could get your folks' comment for Nelson Nightline television show. We'd just like to ask people simply, what is your idea of love?
It's what we share.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
And if anything,
That's great. Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it.
Idea of love?
Yeah.
It's hard to define.
So you don't really have a definition in for it?
Not really, no.
Okay, thank you.
What would we say about love? Well, it's a wonderful thing.
It's a wonderful thing,
Yes,
yeah.
it is.
Okay.
What else? That's hard to say.
It is a little tough one, isn't it?
Yes, and that's, yeah, it's true.
Okay, thanks for your comments
Well,
then.
anyway, what else?
my idea of love?
Your idea of love.
I have no idea, pal. Zero.
Zero idea.
No idea. You're talking to the wrong guy.
Thank you.
Well, I really don't know how to answer that question.
It's a little bit of a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a very precious thing, and I think a person should hang on to it once they find it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great.
Of
Love, yes.
Or
Your definition, perhaps.
No idea. Definition of love. I don't have one.
You don't want it all? Okay, thank you. Guys.
Sorry.
Thanks. Because love, so we just like to know what your idea of love is.
Oh, that's a real difficult question, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Love without crises or with crises? It's a $10 million question, I
$10
guess.
million question, yeah. You don't.
Well, what couldn't answer?
Or your definition, maybe, or.
I suppose love is a harmony. search for spirituality on a two-way basis, commitment, being able to survive the hard times as well as the good times.
Sure.
What's your definition of love?
Well,
Love is being with people, sharing your emotions with them.
right. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. It's such a big topic. I don't know how.
It is a big topic. Do you have any sort of definition? How would you define it?
Everyone has their own idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone's own. I'm not sure.
Sort of a unique individual
Yeah.
sort of
Right,
thing.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Tough question.
There's lots of different levels of love, I think, personally. So yeah, I guess it depends on the individual situation, whether it's a partner or whether it's a work friend or whether it's, you know, someone that you see once every now and then.
Sure.
But I think there's all levels of it.
Yeah.
Family as well. But I think it's really important. I think globally that's where we're moving to a higher sense of love. Yeah.
I don't have an idea.
Oh well, come on! You got a red rose in your hand. That's gonna tell us something. I mean, that's no comment.
No, I don't have a comment. No, my idea of love, I don't know.
Just need any sort of little definition.
What's your definition? It could be for him.
Oh, maybe.
No, I don't know.
Well, I think we're gonna let you guys off.
Well,
Yeah.
love and respect for the opposite sex, or something that means something to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's pretty basic.
Well, I think love is the undivided spirit that holds the universe together. And it consists of kids, music, life, the trees, the sky. What do you think of love?
I agree with you. I like
I think love, you know, is true love is selfless, unconditional and pure. Yeah. There's all kinds of forms of love. There's people love their cars, people can love their tires, or you know,
Right.
Everyone's searching for love in one form or another.
I don't know, man. I don't have one.
Or...
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not into that love thing right now.
All right. Thanks.
Well, not everybody's into love, I guess. I asked a couple of people about their ideas, whether they'd be interested in watching this program tonight, and one of them very particularly said not interested. And the other one said, I'd like to see that. I need to learn about love. Well, maybe we can learn together. We'll continue examining this word with Dr. Magee, Richard Magee, Nelson's only psychiatrist. Dr. Magee. Let's see if we can define our terms. And I don't like the word define, but let's look at it. What is love?
That's a very broad question. I think I'll take the sanctity maybe of my profession, and in psychiatry I think we look more at love within the interpersonal sphere, within relationships, and how it affects children, how it affects people with mental illness, how people relate with each other within that broad scope, I guess.
Is there such a thing as perhaps successful love?
Yeah, I think there is. I think to be successful, one has to be reasonably comfortable within yourself, within your own ego boundaries, what you're comfortable with, within your own abilities to function, to relate to the world. And I think once you're capable and able to do that for yourself, then you're able to extend that into a relationship with somebody else, and hopefully enjoy the fruits of a romantic relationship and love.
Do you believe it's necessary that we know that our parents loved us in order for us to be capable lovers?
I think it's very important that parents love us. I think probably the most poignant example recently in history would be the Romanian experience when they went into the what do you call it, where the orphan children were, and where they had there was not enough people to care for them, and these children were just lying in bed doing nothing. And it's a well recognized fact that infants don't survive without fondling, affection, that maternal type of love that all of us need.
Yes, and is it not true then that children die, infants will die, without affection?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the simple answer would be yes. Yeah.
And that affection can come from somebody apart from just that biological parent.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the biological parent. Usually it is. I think when we look at our society now, often it isn't. You know, typically it's a mother, but yeah.
What is the child experiencing then? Is love a substance? Is the child knowing something here in the delivery of love, in the receiving of love? What is the child experiencing? Is it a kind of familiarity? Is it a reference point?
I think that's been argued, and I don't think it's a substance. I think it's more. We struggle with this word, and I'm struggling with it now, and I think it's more of a dynamic concept. It's more the interrelationship between people. The child experiences it, the mother experiences it. There's a reciprocal process going on there.
Is it a mutual agreement then, if it's not a substance?
Mutual agreement. It's not exactly a mutual agreement, but it's. I don't know how to answer that one.
If it's not a substance, then what is it? Is it a concept that we agree upon?
It's a bond. It's a relationship. I guess I go back to what I started with and see it within the dynamics of humanism, where we experience one another and relate to one another, and the bonding that exists can grow.
Yes. Okay. What is growing though? Is a memory growing? Is there something substantial growing here, as in a memory? Is that bond substantiated by a memory?
Yeah, I would. Part of it is a memory. Part of it is the experience. Part of it is the experience of taking in what your mother offers you or what your father offers you. One gendered child and takes in aspects of both gendered parents. So it's an incorporation, engulfment of this feeling, this warmth.
Warmth. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This warmth, then, I'm picking up that word. It helps us describe this thing. This warmth, then, is like a substance. It's a warm something.
It's an emotional warmness. Maybe.
Okay. Now, that's the first time we've used the word emotion. All right. Necessary to our life, to our existence, this emotion?
Emotions are very... they're very strong motivators. Emotion is part of our adaptation to our climate. These types of emotions, love emotions, have a lot of things have spun off of that. Wars, all types of positive and negative things the human civilization has had to deal with because of that.
All right, let me ask you this. If we can view love as an emotion, can we view hate as an emotion? And does hate have substance such as perhaps love has?
You keep wanting to give it a sort of a concrete type feeling.
An existence, yes.
Yeah.
Does love have an existence? Can it be related to hate?
Well, it's the antithesis of love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does hate have a substance?
No, I don't think so. I think it's...
These are just concepts.
I think there's... Yeah, I think it's just it's the space between people almost.
The space between people. Oh, how interesting. And the space between people then can be bridged by love.
I think so, yeah.
Oh. I like that. Does love have its own rules?
Does love have its own rules? There are certain rules that people seem to abide by.
Good people or bad people? If I'm a bad person, am I going to have different rules about love?
I don't think we can define any one set of rules. It's a very variable concept, as you know. I think we can talk about it in terms of the maternal.
Let's talk about companion love. Friends.
Adult love.
Yes, friend, adults. Let's do that. If I am loyal and trustworthy to my friend, does that not substantiate my relationship? Does that not help to describe what love means?
I think some would argue that that is an element of love there, that the fact that there is a relationship building. I think in terms of what the word's usually described as its more powerful emotion, that it's one doesn't love everyone one relates to or has a friend or is friendly with, but it's reserved for special people within one's existence.
So is time necessary to the factor of love?
Yes, I think so. This is going beyond my expertise, but I think...
well, whose expertise are we going to call upon? Who is the love professional? That's the whole issue here. Anyways, carry on. Is time related to love? I happen to believe it is too. Over time, you get to know somebody better, and then the trust and loyalty can begin to exist and so on. I happen to think time is related there. But also love establishes time, I believe. You can have a moment of infinity with somebody and never see them again. And there's a kind of lovingness that goes on then. How important is time? How important is longevity in the relationship? So love might thrive.
I think that depends on the type of relationship you're talking about. I think you can have a weekend romance and people can construe that as love. But I think also you look at a relationship between a child and a parent, and you know, if the parent's 80 years old and the child's 60 years old, there's certainly a lot of time involved there, and that relationship has evolved with time.
Is the love richer then?
I think one would argue that it is. It's gone. Usually, in terms of when we speak in terms of relationship, both parties have to grow and change. That there has to be an allowance for each to love in their own different way. And I think with the passage of time, that quality can change.
So allowance, very interesting word. I will then. It will be necessary to me to allow love.
You have to be receptive.
Yes, so it is necessary that I give my permission to love. Is that correct, would you say?
Well, yeah, otherwise you're loving an inanimate object.
Or imagining love.
Certainly.
Yes. All right, if I'm giving my permission to love, and I hope this isn't terribly fantastic, here we are on television, but if I'm giving my permission to love, am I not giving my permission to something substantial? Something that exists? I am permitting something here. What am I permitting?
Well, you're going back to the substance
Indeed,
question.
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
I suppose being a biological psychiatrist, one could answer that by saying there may be a neurochemical going on somewhere in the brain, and that may be the substance that we speak of. But beyond that, I don't...
Is love a narcotic?
Could be.
My goodness. Love a narcotic. Well, that's possible too, I suppose. People get pretty excited when they think they're in love. Can love be pretended?
I think one can delude oneself or, yes, pretend, certainly.
A person can love the idea of being in love.
Well, that's when you start talking about being in love with infatuation. And typically, for us, we see those in people that move from relationship to relationship, and it's the infatuation that they're in love with.
Right. Why do they think they need love? Why do they think they have to be infatuated? What is it that's driving them to have something called love?
Well, the simple answer is it fulfills a need.
Are they trying to love their mother or something?
They're trying to find a love that they don't exist within themselves in others.
It doesn't exist within themselves, so they're looking for it outside of themselves.
That's right.
What are they looking for? Affirmation?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. They're looking to be affirmed.
Approval, acceptance.
Why are they concerned about acceptance?
Um,
Who is the affirmer here?
Well, that's the other party within the relationship.
Right. It looks to me in your responses, Dr. Magee, that we're talking about here a person, and we're using this fantastic person as an example. They are looking to be affirmed, but why? Why? Why is love an affirming thing? I mean, what's the problem with their own existence? Are they having a problem with their existence? Do they not know that they exist and they're okay? Why are they going elsewhere to look for their existence? That's my question.
Well, that's a basic humanistic question. Why do we need to do this?
Right, let's look at that.
I guess maybe, again, from a biological perspective, we need love between a man and a woman to procreate.
Yes.
But we seem to need
right,
more than that.
That's like animals, right. Okay, animals need that too. But I mean, we're humans. I mean, aren't we something more than that?
But we also seem to need that, going back to my earlier example about a child, we need that affection, that bonding for the child to be able to grow and survive, mature. So I don't know if I give you I think philosophers have struggled with that question for centuries.
Indeed they have, yes.
And
yes.
I think it would be much too simplistic to say it's a neurochemical of some sort.
So it's not a narcotic?
No.
Okay.
Can be though.
Yes, indeed, yes. If we are, for example, encouraged in our loving relationship and we know, somehow we know that we are deeply loved, doesn't this biologically happen in our mind and say something good is going on, like an opiate is being released into our brain saying, this is correct, I am loved?
Mm-hmm.
Does that occur? Is that real?
If people are in a loving relationship, they certainly do better. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. So there's a reference point going on here. An outside reference point from the single human. And then if that human is loved, then he is connected to that reference point, which somehow gives him greater sanity.
Well, I think we're innately social beings.
Social beings.
And we need that connection with others.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even more so now with the nature of our society. So that's sort of one of the inherent drives, within human nature, I think.
Interesting. So love and the desire for love is a drive.
Yeah.
A drive within us.
Well, it's what Freud spoke of.
Yes.
Leben and Arbeiten was to love and to work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shall we go back to Phil then and see what he has to say? We're back on the street with Phil Harrison. We've been enjoying Dr. Richard Magee of Nelson.
Excuse me, I wonder if we could get a comment from you folks for Nelson Nightline television show that we're doing. We're going to have a psychologist and a counselor in the studio with us tonight, and we're trying to get an idea of people's idea of love.
Oh.
That's a big question.
It's over my head.
That's a tough one, no question about it.
Yeah. Well, we're in love, so we know what it means to us.
Okay.
Partners, friends.
Mm-hmm. But, well, that's great. That's what we're looking for.
For everyone, I guess.
Great.
Thank God you were here.
Thank you.
See ya.
Love?
Yeah.
Well,
It's good.
I like it. It's happy. What do you mean? Like, what about
Well, just some sort of definition. I mean, you can talk anything you want to talk about. What it
When you
means
have
to you, or
true feelings about somebody?
Mhm.
Like, more than just like,
right? Okay.
like deep feelings.
Well, perfect. That's what we're looking for.
Love.
Well, what do you figure, Rod?
I figure there is no definition of love, and it's just something that each person has to discover for themselves.
I see.
I believe that love is a very individual thing, and it differs for each person, and each kind of love too. There's many different kinds.
Right.
I believe love is sort of unconditional acceptance of everything.
I find it hard to believe the idea of love, that even there is such a concept of love, because I can't see where you draw the line between strong affection and loving somebody. Love seems to be an obligation more than a true feeling nowadays.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's a good one.
That's a tough one.
Just giving all you've got to somebody without expecting anything back.
Of love?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that's important. I don't feel it.
Everybody has an idea. Some people run away from the word, but it exists. Right now we're going to talk to Heather Fischer. She's a writer, and she's been kind enough to join us tonight, and I want to ask her, come on over here, Heather. Is lust related to love?
Absolutely.
Okay,
no
what
doubt
is it?
about it.
Help us define the word love by examining the word for the time being, lust.
Well, lust, I think, is an aspect of love, but it's not the complete picture. So if you're finding lust as a big part of your life, that's wonderful, but it might not be completely fulfilling in itself.
So we have desire. People desire each other, and then they fantasize that they're perhaps going to love each other. What do you think starts the fantasy? What is it that they're trying to accomplish? The satisfaction of lust, I don't believe, is really culminating in love.
Not always, no.
Okay, so let's see if we can get our hands on the word love by examining desire. When you desire someone, are you beginning the process of love? Let me ask you that.
I don't think you necessarily are, no. I think that often desire can just be a biological drive.
Right, but it certainly puts us in the field. It puts us in the arena of interaction.
Yes, certainly.
All right.
But it could be a case of sometimes putting the cart before the horse. If you find that you are attracted to people continuously and randomly, then I think it's like the other guest was saying, that it's and something's missing in the picture, rather than sort of letting one thing lead to another. We are animals, absolutely, and we have those drives for a reason. Maybe it is to put us in that arena for love.
All right, so imagining then I explore my desire for somebody I find attractive and I make conversation with them. Now there's a point. Is conversation then going to allow me to begin the process of loving?
Well, you can't get very far without conversation, I don't think. So, but conversation could begin anything. It could begin a friendship, or it could begin a business transaction. It could begin any number of things. And it could begin a love affair, even.
All right, let's see if we can establish a difference between loving somebody physically in bed, our lover, and loving our friend. There's a difference there. There's some activity going on there, but both lovings, as it were, suggest trust, loyalty, time, related to time. Can you enjoy intimacy? Here's my question. Can you enjoy intimacy with a friend similarly to what you might enjoy with a lover?
You mean to the degree of devotion or...
Why not?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. If we can have intimacy then with friends and children, our children, for example, and we'll get to your child's comment, by the way, a wonderful comment. We can have intimacy with friends, we can have intimacy with lovers, we can have intimacy with mom and dad. Can we have intimacy with strangers?
Yeah, you can have intimacy with strangers, but I think if you have a lover, someone that you're in a relationship with, there's a lot more going on there. There's a lot more politics. There's a lot more. There's just a lot more there. It's richer. You have a history of being together. You have a future that you're planning for. There's so much more there than the person that you just happen to meet on the train or whatever. And so sometimes some people would find that a relief to get away from all that
baggage. So love can be baggage with accessories.
It can come with baggage anyway.
Right. Now, there was a comment, and I hate it myself, but I'll bring it up. Familiarity breeds contempt. Do you agree?
No, I don't think so.
Neither do I. All right.
Not
But
at all.
why did the guy say that?
Well, I guess he was stuck in a bad place or something.
Well, what happens when people get married? They get married, say they're 22 years old. A lot of people get married because they like the ceremony of it, and they want to tell all their friends about it, and they invite everybody, and they've got a best man, and they've got somebody holding the ring, and they got somebody over there doing a ceremony. So it's very exciting to get married. and then,
Yeah.
you know, 3 years later, it's not so exciting anymore. Are we talking about familiarity breeding contempt? Are we talking
No,
about
that's
boredom? Or
duty. I think duty is actually can be the antithesis of love.
duty?
Duty. Oh, it's such an it's an awful predicament to find yourself in, where you feel like you have to do something just because you have to do it. It's not because you want to do it. But you feel some sort of inner drive to
Obligated.
do that. Obligation and
I
duty.
See. All right, so being a wife and a mother, you're feeling obligated.
Well, I wouldn't say so, because I haven't allowed myself to fall into that trap, but I have seen a lot of people do that. And it's kind of sad, actually, because once they find themselves in there and they see there's no feasible escape for them, they just endure. And that's I think that's a bit of a waste.
Do you believe that they transmit that endurance attitude to their children?
Yes, I think so. And so you get those duty visits, you know, I have to go and visit mom because it's Christmas or whatever, rather than just going because you love her and you want to see her at any time of the year.
So are we, in that respect, are we miseducating our children? Are we showing by example contempt, obligation to love?
I think some people are, yeah. A lot of people are.
What would you advise these people who are in stale marriages?
Well, I think my idea of love is that love is what seems true to you, and you have to follow it. Be brave and follow it. What's true to your heart is what's generally, I think, will lead you to love if it isn't love itself.
How interesting. Now, that's the first time we've heard the word true related to love. All right. Truth. Is truth established over time in a relationship?
It can be, yeah. If that's a goal in the relationship, you can reach that goal in a relationship. But lots of people don't, because it's not on the agenda. It's not something that enters into the picture at all.
Truth not being on the agenda. Can love exist without truth?
I don't think so. A lot of people say that it does, but I don't.
Then we need truth dynamically in every interaction that we have with our lovers. We have to be truthful.
And with ourselves. Because some people kid themselves about what they need and what they want. And also, some people have never actually been allowed to be true to themselves.
Why? How do you say that?
Well, because as children, it's like you have to behave a certain way and you have to be, you know, act like a lady and all those kinds of things, rather than doing what you really, really feel you must do.
Or want to.
Or want to do. Which, there's a fine line between the two. Sometimes some things you just must do. But I think that if you are allowed to pursue those things all your life, you will understand what love is, because it's like the path will always be in front of you. Truth will be there.
All right. I'm digesting all of them. Very interesting, very interesting. Does sex consummate love? Is sex necessary to love?
Well, not in all cases, but I think...
Certainly not with mom, right?
No, absolutely not with mom and dad, but I think it can be... in most cases, in a romantic adult relationship, sex is involved, I would say. Yeah.
They disqualify marriages if it's not consummated by sex. So our society is telling us that sex is necessary to this element or formula of love. It's necessary.
Yeah, I think some people can identify with that kind of expression of love a lot easier than other people. And so some people feel if they're not getting enough sex, they feel they're not getting enough love.
Right.
Which may not be the case, but it's just a different kind of love.
There's a lot of people out there in our society, especially Western civilization, who are suffering anxiety, who believe that through sex they will enjoy love. And so they end up having a lot of sex and no love. What can we tell them?
I would say just be more true to yourself. Find out what you really, really need.
Tough term, though, true to yourself, you know.
I know, it sounds
I'm going to be true to myself here, over here somewhere. What do you mean, true to yourself? What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. This is a difficult one for me as well. I think being true to yourself is easier to say than it is to do. And I think if you're sort of finding that you're looking in the wrong place and you're not, you think that eventually it would sink in that you're not getting what you need. Right? It's like if you're having, I don't know, heroin for breakfast or something, you're obviously not going to get nourishment that you need. So eventually, hopefully, with these people, it will sink into them and they'll understand that they're not getting fed.
Right, nourishment.
Nourishment.
All right, so now we're looking at love as being a substantial nourishment. Substance and nourishment.
Substance and nourishment. I could go along with that, sure.
Good, all right. I'm glad. Because I'm leading in that direction. I'm looking at that, really. I'm contemplating that. Is love then perhaps a force? Could it be considered a force in the community? A spiritual field, as it were, upon which we do play out our existence? Can we look at it that way?
I think theoretically it could be. And actually it could happen, but it's not going to happen overnight because of the way children are raised nowadays. They're not open to that.
How do we enlighten our children to know love, to express love, to enjoy love, to show love in the community quickly and immediately and spontaneously? How can we encourage that?
It starts at home. It starts from the day they're born.
It certainly does, but how does it start? What do we say to these children to say, or what do we show these children that they will become good emissaries of love in the community? Let's look at that.
I think they need not only to feel loved themselves, but they need to see people loving each other. They need to feel loved themselves, and they need to look around them and see adults loving each other.
And not as a display.
And not as a duty.
Or obligation.
Right.
Oh, very good. Very good. Are we going to the streeters?
We can go there right now.
Right. Phil has more people on the street of Nelson to tell us what their idea of love is.
Okay, that's important. I don't speak really good in English.
You're doing great.
Love? Wow. I think it's just here, love. Yeah, because I feel love here in this city. I just came here, and I think everybody is happy here. Of course, the sun help. That's help.
Yeah.
But that's the love for me. I just discover love because here it's good, and I feel good in myself, and I think that's the love. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
very much.
mine. You're welcome.
Excuse me, I wonder if we could get your comments for a TV show we're working on.
That's what it is.
Oh, it's a great topic. We're going to have in the studio with us tonight a psychiatrist, a counselor, and a novelist, and the topic is love. And we're on the street today trying to get an idea from people of what your idea of love is.
Well, I thought it was going to be about the dog poop and the spraying on the walls and everything. Sir, I don't want to give a comment.
It's great.
Okay?
It's great.
It's great? Oh,
yeah. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
Jeez. What kind of love you talking about?
Well, that's a pretty wide category, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah.
What's love? Love is a type of feeling you get when you care about somebody or something, and you want to care for it and protect it and help it be all that it can be for that person. How's that?
Perfect. Thank you very much. We're just on the street today trying to get an idea from people of what your idea of love is.
It's my birthday, and I'm just too wound up to tell you.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We've been talking about love. We have Dr. Richard Magee and Heather Fischer. There's a question that has come to mind that I would like to pose to Dr. Magee, and that is, why is love necessary for the mental health, the healthiness of the mind? That might help us define or describe what love is.
Boy, it's a very broad question. We're not individual beings in the sense that we can't function without a community around us. So I think in terms of love and mental health, that one needs relationship, one needs bonding with others to be able to function, to be able to survive, to be able to procreate, to be able to enjoy one's existence. And I think that's an important part of mental health. And that the incapacity or because of either mental illness or circumstance, when that becomes interfered with, one can see sort of definite problems arise that one doesn't do as well, certainly. So
people can suffer for the lack of love.
Well, some people do reasonably well without a lot of bonding, without a lot of affection towards others, and can survive very much on their own well-being. But yet, there is a wider community around them that they survive in and can function within.
So they're sublimating immediate relationships of any intensity with a broader community, as it were, creating little emotional bridges. Is that the idea?
Well, some people don't need it at that level.
For myself, for example, I don't really care for romantic love very much. I find it very confusing. You know, so I'm not a romanticist. You know, so, and I find the whole idea of romantic love a bit silly. But that's me. Other people, and why women, I don't know particularly, but they're reading romance novels all the time. What does that mean? What is romance? What is romantic love? I think it's a series of images and illusions that people are entertaining themselves with that have nothing to do with nothing.
Romantic love?
Yes, romantic love. Big Viking, winging woman, and he loves her. And you see these pictures on the novels, the romantic novels. I don't want to read those books, but boy, they're big sellers. That's romantic love.
Well, I think that's what people think of. We think of the cover of People magazine and National Enquirer and those sort of journalistic type of expression of love, which is somewhat warped and not warped, but one side of it.
Interesting word, warped. Maybe all romance is warped. I don't know.
Situation comedies and those kind of television shows, they also are very warped, a very warped presentation of what real life love is about.
So now we're decrying our own medium here, and I agree. But we are victims of the medium, and here we are on the television and so on. We are saying then to television producers, especially Americans, I would think, that they are mishandling love. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think they're trying to keep it into a certain kind of shape and form that is not really applicable to everybody.
Laugh tracks don't apply to me. I mean, I don't laugh along with the laugh track. But the laugh track exists and encourages us to feel as though we're going to accept that as being funny because all those other people laughed.
Or those violins that come on and then you're supposed to feel like it's
romantic. Yes, and candlelight and wine and all the rest of it. I mean, what's going on here? All these reference points are being imagined by television, telling us what love is. That isn't what love is.
Well, they're highlighting the romantic side of it, the infatuation, so to speak.
I was just going to ask you: is romance infatuation?
I think part of it could be, and I think some people could argue that that is a component. I would suggest that romance is more than that, that it's infatuation with a couple more levels to it, and that there is some more connectedness and possibly more potential.
I think the emotional connection can be one form of romanticness or romanticism. The emotional connection between people that goes along with a love relationship. So it's not just the physical connection. The physical connection is one side of it. Then there's the emotional connection where you feel that you're actually emotionally touching somebody. You're connecting to somebody.
Okay. We can't use this word connection, and you both have used the word connection, without using the word substance. There is something connecting somebody to somebody here. And
Well,
if we can begin to get a form on this, then we're going to have some success here.
I don't deny it's a substance. I don't deny that at all.
All right. Intelligence is like a substance.
Going back to the old institution of marriage, which was society's structure around love. Traditionally and historically, there has always been a lot more romance, getting to know one another, meeting the family, generating this background, and the consummation itself was only after everything else had been completed.
Here we are, producing reference points. Then you see, establishing history, as it were, in order to help to describe this new loving relationship. I have met my mother-in-law. Okay, that is an aspect then. It is going to contribute to this form of love that we are describing then as marriage and so on. Your children love you differently than you love your mother.
I think
that your child, by the way, and I do want to get this in.
Okay.
What did was it your youngest boy?
My youngest boy.
Let's hear it. This is neat.
My youngest boy today told me, for the first time that I've ever heard him say these words, he said, "I love you."
What's his name?
Dimitri, and he's 1.5 years old.
And he said, "I love you."
To me.
Okay, let's maybe enjoy his wisdom. What do you think inspired those 3 words?
Well, I tell him all the time that I love him.
Oh, so he's just emulating mom, is he?
I think he was just parroting what I said. Basically.
You don't think that he felt?
No, he did feel it. The
Yes.
words were the word. That's how a child learns to speak, is repeating what you say to them.
Yes, yes.
And the words were just words, but the feeling was there. He knows that feeling. He's known it every time I've said it to him.
Does your 1.5-year-old boy Dimitri know what love is?
Yeah, he knows.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear
You'd
that.
have to.
Do your children know what love is?
I think so.
If you were to ask your children what love is, what do you think they would say? And how many kids do you have? You got 9?
No, I've got 3, so
3.
I'd probably get 3 different answers.
Right. When you spend time, now we want to talk about this parental thing, because that's going to be greatly helpful to help define love. That's what we're looking at here. When you spend time with your children, and I don't like the term quality time, as though there's bad time, what is it that you would want to do most with your children, for example, and maybe not the activity so much? What is going to be most helpful to your children knowing you? Let me put it that way.
Oh boy. What would be most helpful?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I guess to go back to the topic at hand, to know that they have my love.
How do they know that?
I would say that's a compilation of all the things I do for them. Provide for them, be with them, listen to them.
Share words with
them, set limits for them, everything.
Do they know that it is an expression of your love when you punish or send them to their room, for example?
Well, I think that becomes into the specter of setting limits. That one needs to understand that to be able to function within our society, and that's part of a parental function. Yes, I don't think you can. How do I put this? One cannot. One can still experience love, but one also has to accept limits. I'm not saying this correctly, but I don't think you can. If you don't set limits, that will impact on the relationship.
All right. If you don't set limits with your children, then why is that going to have an impact on the form of love? Let's consider the spoiled child. Okay. What spoiled that child? Too much love?
Too many things in place of love.
Okay, that's interesting. Is love then, when it's delivered, as it were, does it discipline the child? Can we use the word discipline in relationship to love?
What, by withholding love?
No, by setting limits here. We're setting limits now.
Yeah, well, I think you're talking apples and oranges here. I think that's part of a parental duty. I don't know whether you can misconstrue.
The child isn't going to view it as very loving if you say you can't watch TV tonight.
That's right.
The child does not view that as loving. Well,
and your point is?
Well, it's possible to spoil our children by giving them too much of what they want and not what we believe and see as being correct that they should be getting. This is all connected to our description and our, not definition, but our at least finding the form of the word love. If you're going to put your child in the corner and say, you have acted very poorly today, that could be part of your expression of love for that child. But the child isn't going to see it that way.
I think even if you look at dysfunctional families where a child is severely beaten, the child will still love that parent.
I see. Let's contemplate these interesting responses. We're going back to the street with Phil Harrison to see what more Nelson Nice have to say about the word love.
I told you it was an interesting topic.
I don't think I want to comment on it.
That's fine. Thank you. You might know. I have no idea. Nope. No ideas?
No, not really.
Or definitions, or
never know.
Okay, thanks.
Something you enjoy.
Something you enjoy? Okay, I'll have to start.
That's about it.
Too deep for us.
It's loving someone, it's a commitment always, through good and bad times.
Sure.
And it's not sweet and syrupy like a lot of people would like it to be, because love is generally a lot of hard work.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
We have now been hearing from parents about children and loving their children, which is in this discourse helping us perhaps to get a handle on the word love. So I want to ask Heather Fischer, our guest writer and parent, how many kids?
3.
3, boys and girls?
1 girl and 2 boys.
Who's the oldest?
My daughter's the oldest.
How old is she?
She's 6 years old.
What's her name?
Sophia.
Sophia. Means love, doesn't it?
Wisdom.
Oh, wisdom. Greek.
Although
anyway.
her second name means love, I took an old English word which is a sort of a root word of love, which is lufu, which is her second name. So I wished it upon her.
I have a surprise question for you.
Okay.
What has Sophia taught you about love?
Sophia has taught me that love can take any shape and form. Children tend to stretch your boundaries of what you think is and is not. Children will stretch that for you. And whatever preconceptions you ever had about parenting or life will be altered by your children, if you allow it to happen. I mean, if you're totally not open to it, it won't happen. But generally, I think most parents that I know, they find their lives are just completely altered.
So would you say that perhaps it's safe to say that you cannot impose upon your children your idea of love?
Imposing, no, not at all. You can show them, you can share with them, you know, you can display what you think is good about your life, which I think is what love is. What's good about your relationship with your partner, the children's parents. What you can show that and share that with your children, and they have a sort of an infinite capacity for love, I think. It's just how much you're willing to partake. So I think they've taught me a lot.
What have your children, Dr. Richard Magee, taught you about love? Don't you love these boner questions? They're real tough ones.
Well, I think it is a challenge to be a parent. You have to downplay your own needs in place of the children's needs. It's a difficult process. There is some adversity that one goes through, but yet I think when you come out the other side, it only enhances your self-esteem and enhances your ability to function as a human being and your sense of what you've accomplished. And I think the children experience that as well. That when you've when you've gone through all of this, that you're much richer for it all.
As a result of your children?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Are they challenging in love, as it were?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say it's challenging to love them.
But they challenge you.
Certainly, they challenge me.
That's all the time we have. I'm going to be winding it down now, according to our director here, who looks like he's panicking. I guess we have a few seconds left, and all I would like to say is thank you very much, Heather Fischer and Dr. Richard Magee. And I will conclude with this. I am thankful for having had a mentor in my life, and he did tell me that love is the absence of fear. Love is knowing. Good night from Nelson Nightline. I'm Harry Langen.